The Boston Celtics are off to a 3-5 record, and they are currently playing right now, actually. Playing home against the Wizards. They only have a 3-point lead, but they've allowed Washington just 4 points in the entire second quarter. But before this game, they're 3-5. The worst record since 2021-2022 season. Okay? Now, when you look at the game against Utah, everyone wants to talk, and Jaylen Brown himself too, rightfully so, bitched and complained about the no call on his tripping with just under a minute to go in the game. Now, as I said earlier, when it came down to that point after attempt, there are a lot more plays that lead up to moments like that happened prior that highlight the importance of that late game no trip call. Because he clearly got tripped. He bitched about it after the game. Even the NBA, when they do their next day review, they said, yeah, the referees missed the call there. And with the NBA and the whole freaking betting scandal that's going on with them, maybe there was a little, chunk of change on that game, which is why the NBA as a product sucks. But I do love the sport of basketball. We'll say that. Love the sport of basketball. NBA product, not so good. Regardless, I thought Jaylen Brown had every right because that was ridiculous. But again, when you're looking at that game, they were 11 for 51 from three on 89% shooting. 89%. On 89 field goal attempts. Over half of your shots were taken via, behind the 3-point line, which is absurd. I even tweeted about this, Monday night. I go, this team is difficult to watch. 51 3-point attempts on 89 field goal attempts. Shot 21% from three, but 68% from the paint against a very tall Jazz team. So it's not like the Jazz are a bunch of short guys where you could shoot over them when you get in the paint. No, they had a bunch of 6'11", 7-footers, and just over 7-footers. So my thing is, to all the nerds, why do you insist on shooting threes when going to the paint equals a higher percentage shot? Make it make sense. Because that's the mind-boggling effect that I don't understand. And partially I refuse to understand. But it's not how you play this sport. It's not how you play this game. And to illustrate my point, some of the stats out there in the NBA is just absurd. And I don't mean the stats themselves are absurd. I mean the numbers where the Celtics land on those is absurd. Look at this. I call this the modern basketball failure. The 2025 offensive ratings for the Celtics. They are 28th out of 30th in points scored, 29th in points in the paint. They are 30th, meaning dead last, on assists, though they are number one on 3-point attempts per game. Shocking. They are 29th on 3-point percentage. They are 27th on effective field goal percentage. True shooting percentage, they're 28th. In the pace of their game, they are dead last in the NBA. That is atrocious. And again, I hate to be beating the same freaking drum over and over and over and over and over again. But there's just new ways of talking about it, really, including those statistics. And my thought is, does Joe Mazzulla realize, does Joe Mazzulla in the Boston Celtics organization realize that the roster is completely different than it has been the last 2 years? That there's no Tatum, there's no Porzingis, there's no Holiday, there's no Horford, there's no Luke Cornett. Like, the roster is not the same. And they're still trying to play like they have all these guys. Like they can have a 7-footer just hang back behind the three. And while Tatum or Brown drives to the hole, gets the 2-on-1 that Joe Mazzulla loves so much, they can dish out to a wide open Porzingis who can drill the three because they pulled the power forward or the center in on that Brown drive. It's not, they can't do that. Excuse me. And I mean, another bad part of their team is that their defense, their rebounding is horrendous. Their defensive rebounding percentage, they are next to last at 29th. So, of course, you know, they're not getting it done shooting. They're not getting it done on the glass. And especially if you're not getting it done on the glass, you have no hope for winning. It's that easy. You have no hope for winning if you can't get rebounds, let alone defensive rebounds. And we knew going into this year that this Celtics team was small, that this Celtics team was tiny. Tiny, you know what I mean. But they are in a load of trouble right now because they're not getting rebounds, they're not hitting their shots. And it's funny because Scal against Utah, you know, was like, he doesn't remember a shooting night like this. And it's like, really? You don't? First multiple games of the season, we've shot like this. But if you really want to hone in on that, let's go back to game 1 and 2 of the Knicks series. Because, yeah, you have the summer break, but in terms of it being so close together, it's what, 15 games out that the Celtics had multiple 20-point leads or had a 20-point lead plus in games 1 and 2 and subsequently blew it in the third quarter because all they did was post up 3 after 3 after 3 after 3 because for some GD reason, this team does not understand how to shoot mid-range. This team does not understand that shooting 21% from 3 going on 51 3-point attempts is not going to win you games. And that they're going to constantly be like, oh, we had wide open shots. We had open shots. We had this, that, and the other. And it's like, yeah, but you're still not hitting the freaking shot. So stop. Drive to the hole. Do something because, as I said in that tweet, you shot 68% from the paint against a very tall Jazz team. And you're going to sit there and be like, oh, well, hey, look, we had out of those 51, 3-point attempts, we had 40 of them were wide open or open. The law of averages is not to be used literally, which is what we are doing, which is what the Celtics are doing. They're taking the law of averages and applying it like it actually means something. It doesn't. It's a freaking BS number. Because when it comes to sports, while you could argue most games are rigged, fine, so be it. I'm not going to go down that route. But in most sports, you have something that's called momentum. You have something that's called riding the wave. You're going to have games where you're hot. You're going to have games where you're cold. You can't use numbers and make that make sense. You can't. It's unquantifiable, which is why all you analytics nerds out there, and most of you probably don't follow this show because you know how much I just disdain nerdom. Nerd! Thank you, Ogre. It doesn't work. You can't quantify momentum. You can't quantify hot and cold because in your mind, when you're cold, you're like, oh yeah, well, the law of averages says that we're shooting, 15% from three in this half. By the second half, we're going to shoot 45% to equal out to get back to our average, which is 30%. Stuff like that doesn't happen. Not in sports. And if it does, it's not because the law of averages. It's because either the other team has dealt with something or you just went hot. It's that simple. Stop trying to use numbers to make things make sense. In sports, that doesn't happen. You can't. How many times do I have to say this? And I get it. I think Joe Mazzulla is a funny guy. I think he's a good dude. I listen to him talk on, Beetle and Zoe every week. He seems like a funny guy, a good guy. But the analytics, Joe, don't work. So stop making them. Or stop trying to make them. It doesn't work. I mean, good example. Sean Grandy tweeted this out saying there have been 445 games in NBA history in which a team took 50 or more three-pointers. The Celtics, shooting 21.6% on Monday, was the worst shooting percentage of any of those 445. This product that Joe Mazzulla and the NBA, because the NBA is all about the three-pointers, not so much maybe that the Celtics are, but the game is turned into basically the game is turned into no ball movement, or if there is, it's drive to the hole to dish out to the wide open three. Getting open shots does not necessarily mean you get good shots. This is why I say that the NBA product of today sucks. And I am not talking about the alleged scandal that could possibly destroy the NBA. And as I've said before, and I truly mean this, I love the sport of basketball. I love the Boston Celtics. It's just how they have morphed this game, kind of like baseball in a way, but different. They have morphed this game into just this bad product. It's not entertaining. It's not fun. And it's no surprise to me that Game 7 of the World Series this year did much, much better viewership than Game 7 of the NBA Finals last year. I honestly, I am not surprised in the least when it comes to that.